If AI in marketing is feeling overwhelming to you right now, here's the good news. You don't have to do everything. You just need to focus on doing the right things and in the right order. Welcome back to the Growth Minded Marketing Podcast. If you're just joining us, I'm Steve Phipps, the CEO and founder of Wayfind Marketing, and I am here with AnnieLaurie Walters.
This is part 2 of our 2-part conversation about AI and marketing. In part 1, we spent time grounding ourselves in reality. How has AI changed buyer behavior? And what matters most right now? What do CEOs and their teams need to be paying attention to?
This episode is all about tactics. So preparation and priorities. As we head into this year, really the question is, what should CEOs and their marketing teams focus on? What deserves attention right now? And what can safely wait?
Steve, as CEOs and their teams are looking towards planning out their year, Q1's already started, but looking into Q2, Q3, there's a lot of pressure to move fast. It feels like AI has just sped everything up significantly. But from your perspective, what really needs to be at the top of the list right now?
I would say that the priority is getting clarity. It's not speed, it's not tools, it's not automation. Those things are important. But before you invest in AI, play with new platforms, or you ask your team to use AI more, you need to be able to answer some foundational questions with confidence. Who are we best for? Who are our ideal clients? What problems do we solve better than anyone else? Why do customers consistently choose us? These are fundamental questions that a lot of times businesses and leadership and marketing and sales have not answered. Maybe they've answered in their minds, but they as a team haven't answered this in a way that is clear, cohesive, and a part of an overall strategy. And if those answers aren't clear, AI is not going to fix that. It's only going to magnify the confusion. And there's also real pressure showing up inside of leadership teams right now. A lot of CEOs and marketing leaders, they're frustrated because there's a lot of activity, but what's really driving results? And that pressure is forcing a shift away from scattered efforts and towards a smaller set of priorities that can be measured and improved. And ultimately, that's a good thing. But in the moment, it feels really stressful.
So this isn't really about falling behind with technology or having technical debt. It's really more about making sure that you're pointed in the right direction before you accelerate.
Exactly. And I want to be clear here. Yes, technology matters. AI matters. It's going to be a part of your strategy, but there's got to be a strategy for it to be a part of. If you just step in and try to leverage tools without a plan, you're just going to get further down the wrong road faster. And so, as we know, AI is moving super fast, but that doesn't negate the fact that leadership still needs to move with intention and clarity.
Let's make it practical, Steve. When a CEO comes to you and says, Steve, where do I even start? What do you usually tell them?
Well, a really good starting point is internally. If we talk about having a strategy, you can still use different tools, experiment with them, figure out how to use them. And so using them internally is a really good starting place. AI, it's a really good thinking partner. I mean, yes, you can use it for creating emails and sending, a variety of different tactical things. But one of the ways that can be really helpful is it's a really good sounding board for CEOs. It can take on the perspective of your buyers. It can help clarify strategy. You can use it to pressure test decisions, or even it can be a good way to just get ideas out of your head, and it can reflect it back to you to help you make sure that it's coming out the way that you think it is. And so that can be helpful for as you're seeking to bring alignment to your team to get another perspective before you take it to them. And this is very much a part I've mentioned before, our guide marketing framework. And this is path 1, generate your story and strategy. That's where ultimately this comes in, is thinking through what's the plan, what's the strategy. And again, that's before content, before campaigns, using that as a way to help think through what your strategy is going to be. And so in this particular case, AI becomes a tool that you can use to help think through ideas and punch holes in what's incomplete and identify the gaps.
I think it's a good opportunity to mention our guide marketing framework series that we have recorded here on the podcast, some of our earliest episodes, and we'll be sure to drop in the show notes links to those. But we did an entire podcast on how to generate your story and your strategy. And we talked about using AI to do that. So if you're looking for some real clear steps, how to use AI to help you with your strategy and your story, be sure to check that out and it'll be linked in the show notes below. So, Steve, if we zoom in even more, what are some of the things that you believe need to be prioritized immediately? Like, what do they need to start?
So whether you do this with AI or not, there are three priorities that I would put at the top of the list. Number one is clarify your messaging. The messaging, the words that you are using to communicate to your buyers what you do, why it matters, how you help them compare to competitors. So your leadership team, your sales team, and your marketing team your customer service team should all be able to articulate the same story, not similar, where you get all these variations, but a consistent, clear story about who you serve, why it matters. Number two is thinking through internal alignment. Often sales and marketing are on different pages, they have different priorities. And so you get these silos. So as you're thinking through these processes, and that's a key thing, is oftentimes there aren't processes. So it's unclear where the handoff is from one team to the next. You can use AI to help document your processes, clarify those expectations, and let that help create some of the documentation that might take a much longer time to do. And then the third is get clarity around your buyers' expectations. Understand your buyers. Again, don't assume. And so this is where leadership needs to understand, how are your buyers making decisions today? What are the questions that they're asking? A lot of that's going to be unchanged, but there are some things that have changed. Maybe they're asking different questions because they can get answers through AI that they couldn't before, that they would have to have a conversation with a salesperson about. And so digging in, understanding, and that's where you can use AI as a tool to respond as if they were your customer. Educate it, define who your customer is, and AI tools can help give you feedback from your customer's perspective, again, to help punch holes in assumptions.
What I love about what you're saying here is even when we're talking about the tactics, it still has to be rooted in your strategy. And you're just continuing to point us back to get clear in your strategy, get clear on your message, get clear on these things, because if those things are broken or non-existent, AI is not a silver bullet. It's not going to just magically solve all of your problems. And if you rush in and start using AI to, do marketing things, it's that same problem that we've seen time and time again of throwing the spaghetti against the wall and see if it sticks. It's still the same thing. It's just packaged in a new way. You have to have the strategy to drive the tactics. And that's what I love most about what you're saying here.
So, one thing I want to be clear on here, if you're listening and you're thinking, I'm waiting for you guys to get to the tactics, and maybe you're thinking the tactics have more to do with content creation and social media. The assumption here is that you're going to be using AI in some form or fashion. If you're doing marketing in-house, that you're going to be using those tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. I mean, pick your tool that you're going to be using that to create the content. The thing that often is missing, though, is this type of strategic information and direction that you can then feed into AI. So if you just want to go straight into creating blogs and social posts, video scripts, and things like that, you're not going to get the results you're looking for, the quality of the content that you really need, because you haven't educated AI. And you can't educate them on your customers and how you approach them with your voice and your expertise if you haven't gone through these steps. So getting clarity around your buyers, the messaging, having those internal conversations to where everybody's aligned, that is a critical piece of the tactics that are going to come out of and be informed by this initial.
Let's say those things are done and those conversations have happened. You said something that I think deserves a little attention, and you talked about training your AI, informing your AI, cultivating. What do you mean by that for someone who's new to that term? What does that mean? What does that look like?
I think an underlying assumption that some people have about AI is that it is going to, out of the box, provide this fantastic content that's just going to be on the mark. And that's a myth because if you think about AI, if you treat AI as you would a new employee, you're not going to assume that day one, that person's going to be able to write a fantastic article that's going to resonate with your buyers because they haven't been trained. They don't know you. They've not absorbed all the information about the buyers and the company and the products and the services. So when that same assumption is made about AI, you're going to get similar types of results. It's going to be generic. It's not going to be dialed in. And a big part of that education process is having this type of information, a strategic plan, the messaging, buyer descriptions, personas, descriptions of your products and services, your all of these things, all of this information, putting that into the AI tools so that it can be much more rifled in and understand the nuance of your buyers, what they're looking for, how you're positioned in the marketplace. Then you can start getting content that's much further down the road in terms of its quality, sounding more like you. And then it's more about fine tuning than having to just redo the whole thing.
So, given this, I think we see some anxiety sometimes from CEOs or marketing directors, leaders who feel like they need to do it all right now. And there's so much to do, so little time. Well, what can wait? Or what should wait? And what needs to be done right away?
So I would answer to that. One, I get it. As a CEO, this can feel incredibly overwhelming. And there's a fear of getting left behind, of missing out on buyers and opportunities, et cetera. So, I mean, it's important. And sometimes that can cloud our judgment as to where we need to focus our priorities. So, the good thing is there's a lot that's involved here. This gets into a lot of complexity. And so, for the goal of simplifying, there's a lot that can be left undone for now. You don't have the bandwidth, your team doesn't have the bandwidth to do everything right now. Advanced automations, that can wait. Custom AI tools, that can wait. In some cases, maybe instead of hiring somebody, you're thinking about how can we replace this with an AI agent? Most of those things can probably wait. They can make sense later, but you want to make sure you have a solid foundation to build on. That's one of the things that I encourage people to do is what can you focus on? What can your team get done in the next 90 days? Pick a handful of priorities. If you're using EOS or something like that, what are your rocks for the next 90 days in the marketing arena? Get those things done. Don't try to do everything because sometimes there's this myth of, well, I can just use AI and it's faster. But again, if you haven't trained it, if you haven't done the foundational work, AI gets dangerous because it's just creating more output, but there's not better thinking behind it. People end up busy, the results are inconsistent, and it's not building trust. So AI can't be a replacement for your judgment and clarity and leadership. And that's why you need to have a plan, figure out what you can do in the next 90 days, and focus on that more manageable increment of time.
So don't try to do it all. Pick a few rocks, focus on those first. Let those be the most strategic, easy wins, maybe for moving you forward or saving you a little bit of time. Or, like you just said, build out a AI agent that knows you and knows your strategy and knows your voice and your message and your tone. Maybe start there as a focus and then just hold back on the rest. You don't have to do it all right away.
And so, AnnieLaurie, I want to take a minute here because I think this is a good line for us to run for a minute. And that is, I'm inserting a question here. So we have a list of questions that we're going through. So this one's not on the list, but just as the conversation's gone, I think this is really important. The question that I want to pose out there is great. Well, 90 days, how do we determine those
Mm.
priorities? Yeah, the assumption that I'm going to make is that you are using AI in some form or fashion. The first thing I would encourage you to do is go take the marketing assessment on our website. There's zero cost to do that. It gives you a reference point using a marketing framework that's based and built on proven marketing principles. And it gives you a sense of where you are. And that framework starts with G, generate your story and your strategy. Now, if you score perfectly on every component there, fantastic. Move to U, which is your website. Where is your website off the mark? Where's the messaging unclear? Where are you not answering questions that your buyers are asking? So, what's the immediate, what content do you need to create over the next 90 days? If I go back to G, generate your story and your strategy, it could be that you realize what we don't have clear messaging. Maybe you have written descriptions, good written descriptions of your buyers, but your messaging is unclear. Your salespeople are saying different things. Your marketing, your website is saying different things. It's inconsistent. It's not building trust, breaking trust. So maybe you need to start there. Maybe you need to get clear on the tactics. How can we reach our buyers? Do we need to be on LinkedIn? Should we be on TikTok? If you're B2B, probably not. Maybe at some point. If you're not on LinkedIn and owning that, you need to be jumping off to these other channels unless you've got the resources to do it. So again, get narrow and think through. Then you can look at your website. Then you can start thinking about informing with content, creating a content plan. So again, as you go through this, there is a sequence to it. There's a priority to it, and pick a couple of things based on where you are and use that to guide what you're going to do for the next 90 days. And then when you make that decision, then you can look at how do we use AI to help us with this? You can't start with AI in terms of, well, we have this tool, start with what's the priority, and then look at how you can use AI to create a better output more efficiently and faster. So that would be my encouragement. Think about the 90 days, take some time, evaluate those things, and use that to determine what you're focused on for the next 90 days. And then after those 90 days, the beginning of the next quarter, or just before you go into the next quarter, do the same thing. Great. Let's reassess. Where are we? What's improved? Now, what do we need to focus on for the next 90 days? And that gives you a cadence that's not overwhelming.
Steve, let's talk about competitors. I'm sure there's some people who are feeling a little antsy. Are my competitors already outpacing me? Are they already ahead of me? What are they doing? How do I know if my competitors have already left me in the dust? What should they do? What should they be looking for instead?
Well, a couple of things here. One is I would say the mistake is looking at tools instead of outcomes. Instead of asking what AI tools are they using, really, again, it's fundamental. Do they have a strategy? Do they have clear messaging? Does their website do a better job of building trust? Are they showing up consistently where their buyers are asking questions? Are they the ones being referenced or summarized? The tools themselves, again, aren't the end, they're the means to an end. And you don't have to be the most sophisticated company in terms of the tools you're using or how you're using them. You need to be the most trustworthy company. And if you do that all analog, if you decide we're not using any AI, fantastic. Just create content that's going to build the trust and the credibility that your buyers are looking for. That informs AI and that informs your buyers when they do get your website.
Okay, Steve, here's the next question. And it is really eye opening. As you look ahead, get out your crystal ball. What do you think 2026 is going to reward?
Again, there's a lot of fundamentals here. I think this year, years ahead, it's going to continue to reward focus, clarity, consistency. Companies that know exactly who their customers are, communicate that clearly, and reinforce it everywhere their buyer shows up. And the thing about that is sometimes I think CEOs are looking for like the sexy answer. And it's not. It is the fundamentals. Even AI and all its advancements, it's still looking for the fundamentals. Can I trust you? Are you clear in what you do? If I were to commit to you, can I trust that you're going to do what you say you can do? These are buyers' questions. It just happens to be that AI is the one asking those questions now on behalf of the
Yes.
buyers. It's going to continue to reward human expertise. So leaderships that are willing to explain how buying decisions are made, what the process looks like. What are the trade-offs? If you get this instead of this, what do you gain? What do you lose? And showing real experience. This is where, again, you've got to be the human in the loop to demonstrate your expertise, your authority, your experience. And I think this year we're going to see the companies that are, again, continue to be vague and try to be nebulous. They don't want to give too much away to their buyers because they want somebody to have to call the salesperson. Those are the companies that in the long run, and maybe even the short run, are going to drop off. They're not going to get the traffic. AI is not going to recommend you because you're hiding behind generic language that doesn't really build trust.
I was thinking about one of our clients here in Memphis, one of our service based clients who we've served them for many years, and we have practiced just the consistency of messaging and communicating and answering those questions as Steve is encouraging all of our listeners to do. And long before AI was running everything, this was back in the olden days, they were answering the questions.
Year and a
I
half
know,
ago.
right? They were answering the questions, they were putting it all out there. And recently, I was looking at their SEO, I was looking at how they're doing in rankings, and now all the tools will also show you how your clients are doing in AI rankings as well. It's baked into that. I was very pleasantly surprised to see this specific client that has been so faithful to continually answer those questions is killing it in AI, and they didn't even try. So I wonder, maybe some of you listening, if you're already out there and you're answering those questions and you're being transparent on your website, AI will reward that. It might already have rewarded it. You might already be way ahead of the game and not even know it yet.
I think it's worth pointing out here because, again, yes, there are specific tactics that are different now because of AI than, say, 2 years ago. For instance, today it's incredibly important that websites have schema markup as a technical part of their site
Mhm.
build to help the AI
Right.
engines. But what hasn't changed is Google's framework, EEAT, expertise, experience, authority, and trustworthiness. That's their grid for content that is meaningful. And it's the same because they're looking at it from the buyer's perspective. They want to surface content that's going to be meaningful for the people searching.
Mhm.
That type of content, which that's the type of content that we've been creating for clients and coaching clients to create for years, it's even more important now. In some regards, yes, some things have shifted and changed, but some things are still these bedrock principles. Answer your buyer's questions openly, honestly, with authority and credibility, and it's going to help generate conversions and it's going to help drive traffic or help you show up in AI because again, we're all aligned on what we're looking for. It's just whether or not your company is willing to provide that kind of
I'm
content.
glad you brought up EAT, specifically expertise and experience, because you're not the only company that's trying to use AI. So you've got to put your expertise and your experience into whatever content you're using AI to create, or you're just flooding the internet with more junk. So that is where, back to what we were saying earlier, doing that messaging, building out whatever AI tool that you use, figuring out how to load it up with your expertise and load it up with your experience, specific things that's going to make your content look different because that's what the search engines on the AI side and the traditional search side are looking for. Something nobody said yet.
Here's a super practical tip for using your AI and training it. So we were talking about that just a few minutes ago. One of the things that you can do in the prompt, or if you're creating a custom GPT to use internally, is you can instruct it to follow the EAT framework and to identify within the content where it would be good for you to insert a case study, a quote, a testimonial, something from you that demonstrates that level of expertise. So you can prompt it to basically prompt you to input that type of information.
That's a great tip, Steve. Thank you for that because the more
I'm here all day, Annie
the
Laurie.
more we can do, we got to strive to make our content our own. Don't get lazy with AI. You
Yes.
can't get lazy. It can be your best friend or your worst enemy if you get lazy with it. Don't get lazy with it. It's just going to backfire.
Yes. Okay. So we've covered a lot today. Part one, we talked more about the leadership aspect of this and the buyer's journey, what that looks like with AI. Today, we talked more about the setting the priorities, the tactics, process, 90-day planning. And you may be feeling overwhelmed, and that's okay. This is exactly the type of work that we help CEOs work through with their teams. We help service based companies, B2B companies, simplify their marketing by starting with a strategy, getting clarity on who you serve, what you say, how your marketing aligns with your business goals. And I mentioned this earlier, but a really good starting point that doesn't cost you anything is go to our website, wayfindmarketing.com, and take our free marketing assessment. There's a link at the top, and it will give you a clear picture of your marketing, what's working, what's not. It's based on our guide marketing framework. And for CEOs who want deeper support, we offer coaching services for in house marketing teams. We provide agency services for those that want to outsource their marketing. And we help you get clarity, alignment, and we guide you through all the noise and the chaos. And a lot of times you don't need more tools. You need a clear plan and someone who's going to help you stay focused on what actually matters. You're looking for somebody like that. Our team would love the opportunity to have a conversation to see if we're a good fit.
So, as we wrap up this two-part series on AI marketing in 2026, Steve, what's the big one thing that you want people to remember?
AI isn't replacing leadership, not your leadership, but it is raising the bar for it. And the companies that are going to win won't be the ones who are using the most tools or the latest tools. They're the ones who have the clearest thinking, strategy, strong alignment, and the discipline to stay focused on what actually matters.
And the companies who slow down, get clear, lead intentionally, those are the ones that are going to win in 2026. Not because they avoided AI, but because they used it to support better decisions, clearer communication, and healthier teams.
If you're headed into this next year feeling pressure, that is normal. But I want to encourage you with something that a friend of mine told me last night. And he commented, he said, sometimes we have to slow down to speed up. So I want to encourage you. It's okay to slow down long enough so that you can speed up. Pressure doesn't mean you have to panic. Rather, it is an invitation to lead your team and your company with clarity rather than chaos.
If this series was helpful, we'd encourage you to share it with another leader on your team or in your network, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss future conversations just like this one.
Thanks for joining us on the Growth Minded Marketing Podcast. Be sure to like it, share it, subscribe.
We'll see you next time on Growth Minded Marketing.